Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 19th, 2022 regular meeting of the Town of Easton Planning and Zoning Board. In keeping with an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote, and a remote attendance shall count toward a quorum. This meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. To use Zoom, you can follow the link on the town calendar under the listing for Planning and Zoning Board meeting under today's date. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. While board members and applicants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as attendees, meaning they are muted and with no video feed from them. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raised hand function on Zoom or the Q&A function on Zoom. If you are joining only by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. Board members are asked to announce themselves by name when making a motion and second, so it will be clear to the attendees, it will be clear to the audience and minute takers who made the motion, and all votes will be by roll call. And to ensure we have a quorum, we will now have a roll call. Gregory Strange present. Deb Balsaric. Deb Balsaric. Present. Right. Robert Stetson.
Present.
Amos Kedem. Amos Kedem. Amos, raise your hand. We can't hear anything from you. Just raise your hand so we can make it part of the record. All right, hand is raised. And Peter Duchesne.
Yeah.
All right. I don't see Chris Anderson in the audience, so we will promote Amos to a full voting member for purposes of tonight's meeting. So as I mentioned from the outset, first up, the continued site plan review for 534 Washington Street, my brother's keeper. We have received a request to continue until October 11th of this year. Would someone please make the motion in a second?
Motion to continue 534 Washington Street to October 11th. Stetson.
Second, Duchesne.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor? Gregory Strange, aye. Amos Kedem.
Aye.
Robert Stetson.
Aye.
Peter Duchesne.
Aye.
Deborah Balsaric. That is unanimous. Great. Thank you. And we won't get to it for a while, but just once again, in case anybody's joined in late, 466 and 464 Foundry Street is going to be continued to October 11th. So we are going to continue our public hearing on Sawmill Village, 560 Foundry Street, definitive subdivision and special permit other. So I believe I saw.
Oh, yes, sorry. I should be promoting Rick and Megan.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Lincoln. How are you? So, when you start, name and address for the record, and so just a pick up where we left off. I guess we members of the Planning and Zoning Board, along with Stephanie Dennison, Town Planner, we had a site walk with Mr. Lincoln this past week, and I guess it's just part of your presentation. If there's anything that's changed, any new info that you've added or revised since the last meeting, and then if you could just give us a status of where this is at with conservation. So with that, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Rick Lincoln with Sawmill Village. There have been, like, I'll call it maybe one or two really slight changes based on some Conservation Commission requests. One of them I know was a couple of, I'll call them paths, but access easements to get to a couple of detention ponds on the east side or the Foundry side. We have a more refined architectural elevation on the clubhouse. And with that, Megan was able to refine the civil engineering up there. So the grades really didn't change much, but the building flipped. Can you zoom in on that a little bit, Megan? So the building flipped such that the left side, the far left side, is an open patio. Well, that side is kind of part of the brick building, but it has open windows. And then to the left of that, there'll be an outside patio. There are some mailboxes there that we've added. Kind of forgot about those, honestly. And that is about it for changes. We were fortunate enough to close out with Conservation Commission after a long stretch. So we're all happy about that. And the orders of condition are getting recorded. So I think we closed that chapter. And we're looking to try and finalize with you folks. And I think that's it for changes.
So Rick, did the conservation vote on this project yet, or?
Yes.
Okay, so you're just waiting for the written decision, and they voted to approve.
We have the written decision. Honestly, we went to record it this morning and discovered that the original went up to our Westford office, and they haven't received it yet. So
Okay.
Whenever we receive it, we'll have to get it back down here and record it at Bristol.
Okay, so I'll open this up to the board. If there's questions or comments based on the changes seem pretty minor, but or anything that you want to bring up, or Stephanie for that matter too. The floor is open.
Greg, I have a question for Rick, and I may have missed it. I looked down for a second. Rick, did you say that you have improved the access to a couple of the stormwater basins?
Megan, do you want to chime in on that one?
We created some access easements to get to some of the stormwater basins to make sure there's proper access.
Yes.
On this side, for example, there is an easement here so that a truck could come by this one, get to this basin, as well as the constructed wetland here.
Yeah.
Right along the back. And then on the other side, we have, back up. On the other side, we have one that they would come right through here, come along the berm, and then we have a drainage easement here, so they can get to this basement.
Okay, and do we have that plan sheet? Was this a change that came with some of the revised documents after a long period of delay, or has this been changed since the meeting with the Conservation Commission?
We've sent this to the Conservation Commission because they've requested it. We're currently putting it into a revised plan set, so we can upload the same revised plan set to everyone, so everyone's on the same page for a final plan set, as well as the few remaining things that the conservation asked for in their order of conditions.
Right, probably in the final plan set, so we don't have to have so many copies running around, but yeah, that's
Right.
great. That was one of my comments. If none of the board members have any other comments right at this moment. Rick, one of the things I noticed on the landscape plan, there were a lot of cultivars and non-native species. As much as possible, we'd like to see native species plants.
That picture of bamboo is not native.
Yeah, that was, I thought that was very,
Very nice.
timely
but
that that
yeah.
came up just as. I
Very
was
invasive.
landscaping.
And I would say, as long as you're, not to piggyback on Stephanie's question, but as long as you're pulling up landscaping plans, one of my questions was just to look at more detail at the entrance. Because I know last week you didn't have the plan. And then just following up, there was a comment last meeting from one of the abutters, and we, on the south side, I'm sorry, on the east side, which we all kind of specifically walked out there and looked at during the site walk. So if you want to just touch base on those existing conditions and what would happen there. So we can check that out.
All this up here.
That's a big bamboo.
So on the, let's get one for these. So I believe I don't believe we have an updated set for kind of like with the final clubhouse design, which is smaller than this. So there would be additional landscaping on the side. So you mentioned this area here, and then is it the bottom, kind of the southeast for the abutter?
Can you just zoom in there a little bit more, Megan?
Yeah, I think
Concentrate
that's-
on the entrance.
Greg muted himself, but I think that's what he was saying.
Maybe-
Oops. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Okay, so yeah, so we'd like to, I mean, if the board so chooses to close tonight, we can, but we'd obviously need to get the footprint revised on all of the plans for the clubhouse or gathering house, whatever you had it called, and also need to label that on the plan that we were on earlier. So it calls out what it is, not a dwelling unit.
So we'll update the landscape architectural plan for the new clubhouse and then substitute for, native species.
Yeah, native, and I would also suggest, because I think we're starting to see more focus on this, but adaptive species. So if there are species that you'd find a little further south in similar environments that people are starting to use to respond to climate change, I think that would be helpful as well if your landscape architect is familiar with those.
They should be. Yep. Okay.
I have a question. Rick, in response to one of the abutters last meeting, you say that there is a planning for lighting, and you say that it would, but I was looking through the pages and I don't see anything about lighting. I'm missing it, or is there? And if it is not there, it's something we want to add, so you can provide that.
Yeah, it's definitely there, Amos. Hopefully Megan can find it. And we changed, as I had mentioned before, although we'll have to update that plan as well. I don't see the new hardware on the street lights, but the instruction of the landscape architects was to drop, how does it go? I think we're dropping the lumens to under 15 or at 1500 or below, and we're dropping the color temperature to 2500 or less.
So you need to reflect that on the plans and submit, right?
Also with the landscape architect, right?
Okay.
Update lighting plan. Okay.
Amas, anything else? Is that it?
Are the sidewalks going to be asphalt? we asked that question. You didn't know
Yeah.
at the time.
The sidewalks within the site are bituminous concrete, yes.
Okay.
Right, that's the sidewalks paralleling the street.
And then
Any walkways, where we had the discussion, would be a paver, if there's any.
And then the curving is granite towards the front maybe, and then it was like a Cape Cod berm.
Right,
Or
towards
similar.
the entrance, we have vertical granite as well as over the crossing is vertical granite, and the rest of it is Cape Cod berm.
Rick, I haven't looked into the details, but for all the utilities, you have service locations for power and water and all the different utilities around this complex, right? Are they located near the houses? That's where it is.
Correct. The only thing that gets reflected later are the transformer locations, because National Grid won't even allow these plans into their engineering department until planning board approves it. But those are minor issues. But the rest is, new telephone poles out front, to reconcile, with the widened road and all the road improvements out on Foundry, that stuff won't change. And then gas and water and that won't change either. That's all shown on the plans.
And now that you've finished with the Conservation Commission, is the stormwater, it's been fully reviewed by peer review?
Correct. Wood and Curran signed off on the drainage a few months earlier in the year.
Yes, they had some comments and suggestions. Well, that would be incorporated as conditions, and we have those. But the approval of the system overall.
Peter, do you have anything else?
I'm just worried. I think you were talking about the southeast corner where like we were out there in the woods, and it wasn't clear if the property line was sort of approximately like the edge of the neighbor's lawn or exactly where that was on that corner. I think we guessed that it was close to the neighbor's lawn, but we didn't really confirm that.
Rick, do you have any response to that?
Can you, I'm trying to think of what plan Megan can pull up. Do you know where we're talking about, Megan?
It's
at
the bottom right on
Yeah.
that cul-de-sac right there, right? That you can see on the
Right.
plan.
Yeah, I mean,
It would be
maybe on property viewer, if you could get the right layer on, you could see the property line as well as satellite image.
I'll see if I can pull that up for us.
So can I just add, I have a couple of other items, but I think they're going to need Megan's attention. But Greg, if I could just. while
I'm
Megan-
always a fan of filling dead air. Go right ahead.
I just want to remind the board that you are going to need to, if you close the hearing and vote, you need to vote for the waivers.
I mean, if we were to close, we have to vote for the waivers while we close.
Well, no, I'm sorry, you need to consider the waivers and there needs to be a vote on the waivers as part of any vote to approve the project.
A final approval, okay, yeah.
Yes, yes,
So that would
sorry.
be it.
right, Megan, what do you got?
Okay, so it looks like the edge of the property is here, so it's right, maybe possibly right over his lawn in this area. Looks like the trees might have been just,
So see, it's, I was
obviously,
right.
this is
It's a
just-
lot closer to that house. Remember, I think I was right on that tick mark.
Yeah.
So how about this? On those two areas that it looks like there's a pool there and that house that we're looking at. Once construction starts, road construction, clearing of the lots, we have an order, a condition in the decision, if the board were to approve this project, that when you get to that point, Stephanie or a member of the board, we can go out and take a look, see what's there. And if we need to add a little bit of a buffer, would you be opposed to that, Mr. Lincoln?
No, honestly, Mr. Chairman, I think it's the concern, I think the concerned individual is the one, see the long, is that a barn there or something?
Right, that's the house I thought, right? Isn't that right?
I think that's the one, yeah, the one with the
Yeah,
pool.
remember that?
I don't,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
That's
No, I think the one with the pool is probably covered from the woods. That's the one that we're all looking at. Man, we were trying to figure out exactly where we were.
Mhm.
Right.
We were actually, hate to say it, but I think I was right. We were close. Remember, I kept saying, wow, it looks like it's really close to his house. And, but of course, this is just from the sessions. But anyways, when it'll be easier to take a look at it once construction, clearing commences.
I mean, regardless, I think it would be good planning practice to have a buffer on that side where there are houses already anyways. I mean, whether or not someone, mentioned it, came to the meeting and asked us to look at it, but, just in general, I think, whereas like there's a couple lots there, it'd be nice to.
Right, but I'm just saying, Peter, this isn't the most accurate of photos or detailed of photos. It's winter time, doesn't show the broadleaf vegetation, so it may not be needed. I mean, it was pretty thick when we were out there. So I'm saying, why don't we, instead of trying to guess and say, okay, put 6 trees, 4-inch caliper, let's take a look at it. That way we can have a better solution.
Yeah.
And I just want to confirm with Rick, I'm showing them on the plan as lot D1 and C2.
I think that's the unit type, Stephanie.
Oh,
Also,
okay.
I
Plan.
think
Thought
that,
that was an odd, okay, yeah.
yeah, that's okay. I think that side of the site, the grades don't change a whole lot all the way to the property line. So hopefully when we get out there and we're clearing, we can, if there's some nice mature trees, we'll certainly leave them.
Yeah, you actually have plenty of space behind assuming those.
Unit 15
Yeah, behind the
and
house
16.
there, right.
Well, if Greg is correct, you need to go, the only tree that is left is one in the middle of the lawn there.
Yeah, so are we saying now, because I thought we had figured this out at the inspection, are we saying now that this development is going into that portion of the neighbor's lawn that he appears to be mowing regular? I mean, it appears to be a part of his backyard at this point.
Well, is it his backyard or has he encroached
Well,
on?
I don't know if we know or not, but it certainly looks like his backyard. Let's put it that way. I mean,
Right,
may
but that's
very
why I
well
was
be
saying
that he's encroaching. Yeah.
So that's, I mean, regardless, it's, once this is laid out by the engineers, if it turns out there's no tree cover there, then yeah, we'll put a buffer in too, even though it's been, even though it's been cleared potentially beyond the property line, we'll put a buffer in to help have a little privacy between the two.
Megan, can you shift the drawing a little bit to the left? Because everybody's pictures are kind of. There you go. Yeah, it's hard to tell from that.
I think, Rick, the problem is that I don't know if this person know if it is the case that we are going beyond that line into his lawn all the way to that tree, according to our assessment, that person is not probably expecting that. And it will be good to engage and measure this and make sure ahead of time that we are not going into his lawn or what he considers his lawn. It's not his, of course, but I think we need to engage with that abutter and
Well, I think frankly, I think the applicant does. That's not our responsibility. The abutter came to the planning board meeting, brought this up. We took a look at it. There wasn't really a way to see exactly where it was. And as we've done on many projects, once this is cleared, we get out there, take a look. And I'm sure Rick, this isn't his first project. I'm sure he'll knock on a door, and that's what I'm saying. Instead of just saying, coming up with a prescriptive solution for buffering, let's see what the condition is once construction begins, and then
Yeah.
And
I don't think we're in the
engage with the abutter.
One last, can you zoom in a little bit, Megan? I don't want to belabor this too much, but on unit 14 there, top of foundation is 111, so 109. So we should have, the top of foundation is 111, so a couple feet down is 109, and we're at 108, 107 there. So I'm hopeful that if all that is relatively accurate, which it should be, I can leave, any good trees or any good brush that's there, I'll leave it. But I don't think there's any fill going there. We'll need 10 feet or so, 15, 20 feet behind the house, but we don't need to carry it to the property line.
Mhm.
All right. So Greg, I made a note about adding that.
Yeah.
Condition.
Yeah, well, exactly. That'll be right. We'll put that in the condition. Okay.
So I just had two other.
Let me just I just want to check the board. Are you guys any more questions or feedback from the board before I throw it to Stephanie?
No, but I just found the right view on my phone here, looking at the property viewer, and it's not as bad as we think as we just were assuming.
Right. Yeah, we looked at that last week. So, but again, even those aren't always perfect. So I think it's really better just to, what we've already said. We don't need to beat a dead horse. All right, go ahead, Stephanie.
Okay, just a couple of items. I have from my report that DPW had commented initially, and this has back a while ago, that sewer line it has P14 has a severe pipe slope, and that should be revised to include an inside manhole drop connection. And I don't know if that was done.
Okay, so P14 right now is at a 4.6. Which I think it's too bad. I'm not sure which revision that was on. So there might have been a time where this was a steeper slope.
This comment was before the revisions that came in over the course of the last 8 months. So
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, I believe we revised these within the last revision or two. So
Yeah, because 4.6 doesn't seem that drastic, right? Oh, go ahead, Stephanie. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and then just one other comment, and I didn't have the detail, but I did have a comment on grading that the applicant should provide detailed construction plans showing how work will be conducted so as not to intrude onto the abutting town conservation land. And I think you may have responded to that through your review with the Conservation Commission as well, or while you were in reviewing with the Conservation Commission.
Well, currently, other than the fact that we will be on conservation land for the removal of the culvert from Beaver Brook and the construction of the stream there. Otherwise, we will be working within the limits of work that are shown in the plans, which are all within the property line.
Okay, good. So again, that was a much earlier comment. And that's all I have, Greg.
Okay, Megan, can we go back just to the entry, the plan you had at the beginning, where Rick showed the mailbox location?
Oh, sure.
please. Because I put on here, label, what she's calling that, label the meeting house, gathering house, clubhouse, whatever it's called, I forget. Just so we know, the outdoor patio, label that. You're gonna revise your landscaping for that. Landscaping at the entrance, we looked at. East property line, we looked at. So mailbox. That's not gonna work very well, is it? So why don't we talk about it while we're here? Come up with one that works better. Because people are gonna want to pull it. Do you want to eat up 3 parking spaces to do that? Or do you think you should put it closer to the road? Or
We could, I mean, in this development, boxes aren't an issue, that was my first, the biggest thing with apartments and housing developments now are just the whole Amazon thing. But here, they'll get dropped off at their house.
mhm.
I don't know, Megan, do we have, how can I see to the left of the mailbox? I mean, is there
I
a
was just
way to
saying-
get widen the road there? And
I was just gonna say, can we put a little pull over there, or is that?
yeah, I don't want
The basin is right there. I don't think we really have.
And Concom's taking this to the square inch, I imagine, of pavement too, right? So,
oh yeah, the pond is right there.
Yeah,
Oh,
so the
yeah.
pond is here in this area.
Greg, I think there's a ton of spaces there for
I was gonna
the,
say, what if you ate up those 3, got rid of the 3 spaces? Of course, you can't see my arrow, and brought that mailbox out, those spaces are, say, 20 feet deep, right? Fill it so they're 10 feet deep, and a car can pull in there, get rid of those first 3 and bring that mailbox to the middle of those parking spaces, just change the shape of the curb there. Something, I mean, we don't have to, it's just something to think about. That just,
Okay.
because when cars are pulling, people want to get their mail and they just want to pull right in front of it real quick, I think. Might be a nuisance. But that's certainly something that can be tweaked and you can just submit it to Stephanie
okay.
after we have a discussion. And landscape, better mailbox location, I talked about, the footprint we talked about, and discussing waivers. So Stephanie, does that mean you have a list of the waivers handy?
I do.
And are you asking us to vote on each waiver? Or just to review the list?
To review the list, and then
Okay.
the board can decide if there are any they would not vote on.
Okay, so
or
let's do this. Yeah,
Right.
Stephanie, why don't you just say each one,
Yep,
and then we'll see if the board has any comments. And just like Connor does his town meeting. If nobody says hold, then we'll move on.
okay. Section 6.2.1.I. This is from the subdivision rules and regulations, all of the waiver requests. Roadway construction in a floodplain. The project proposes constructing a portion of Surrey Lane within the floodplain. The request indicates the road is located to have the least impact on the wetland resources and has proposed foot-by-foot compensatory storage, which has been confirmed. As part of stormwater review, Wood and Kearns reviewed the applicant's calculations, analysis, et cetera, et cetera. They have confirmed, Wood and Kearns has confirmed that the floodplain as shown appears to be, it is accurate, and that compensatory storage is provided.
Makes sense. Any issues? Obviously, this has been through peer review. Everybody okay with this? If not, speak up, please. Okay, next one, Stephanie.
Section 6.2.1L, emergency access. The applicant seeks a waiver from the disallowance of lanes, roads, or easements exclusively for the purpose of emergency access. A single point of access roads proposed to reduce wetland resource impacts. A 20-foot lane on the northwest portion of the site and constructed with pervious material will provide emergency access. Comments received from the fire department state the houses will be equipped with residential speakers. Fire did not submit adverse comments related to the emergency access lane.
Anybody have an issue? All right, next one.
I
Six
just had a question.
Go ahead, Deb.
I feel like my internet's very spotty today too, so I apologize. Did you say that residences will be equipped with sprinklers?
Yes. Okay, section 6.2.1E. This section gives the board the ability to require pedestrian ways that would provide access from the development to amenities. The proponent indicates the locations of the cul-de-sacs back up to an existing home and to a conservation area surrounded by wetlands in the Beaver and Mulberry Brook. So this is a waiver from providing access to the abutting open space, and for those reasons that it's around there where those would be located. You have wetlands and the brooks.
And I just want to add for clarity, I know we'll get a question from a certain member of the audience. There is still public access to the green space out there. This was just in relation to what Stephanie had read. Board members, any questions on that one? All right, next one.
All right, 6.1.2.F, vehicular easement. The proponent identifies this as vehicular easements, presumably referencing the designation of an easement at the terminus of the project roads in order to provide access to abutting properties in the future, and uses the same argument as above to support the request for a waiver. So generally, this is where you would require an easement stub off of the end of a cul-de-sac, again, for future development, but not only because of the wetlands in Beaver Brook, but I think, you know, you have one where it would be going into a neighbor's property and the other where I think it's abutting conservation land. So it wouldn't even be technically feasible for the roadway.
Correct. Questions, anyone? Comments? No? All right, next.
Minimum number of access points. This requirement states that a subdivision with more than 36 lots must have 3 means of access. The applicant states that alternative designs with varying points of access were considered for advancing the current plan as the preferred layout, which has less wetland impacts than previously considered designs. An emergency access lane is provided and homes will be sprinklered.
Anyone? No. All right.
Section 6.2.4, planting strips. The applicant has provided an argument that eliminating planting strips helps with a smaller overall site layout consistent with the boundary compact neighborhood district and allows additional yard area for residents.
It eliminates dying grass in
Yes.
that little strip. Anyone opposed? No? All right.
All right, we only have 2 more to go. 6.2.4, curbs radii less than 125 feet. The applicant has stated that curves less than 125 feet have been used to promote compact design and a neighborhood setting consistent with the Furnace Compact Neighborhood Overlay District, and to maximize the use of space located furthest from the wetland resources and to maximize the number of units that can be built.
And aiding in traffic calming. Anyone? All right, last but not least.
6.4.8, bounds, monuments, markers, and section 6.6, monuments and markers. The applicant has indicated boundary monuments have not been added to the plans because the roads within the project will remain private roads owned and maintained by a homeowners association. At a minimum, perimeter boundary monuments and the required minimum of 2 special monuments tied, this is my comment, at a minimum, perimeter boundary monuments and the required minimum of 2 special monuments tied into the Mass State Plane Coordinate System should be required. And I think that Rick and I had talked about that previously. Maybe on this project, maybe it was another project with someone else, but.
Questions or comments, anyone?
So on the last one,
Yeah.
what's the reason that they're requesting a waiver of the bounds?
They're requesting, it looks like they were requesting all the bounds, but primarily because it is a private road that the town is not going to accept. I mean, the way the code is written, the town wouldn't accept it even in the future at some point. And I'm guessing that Mr. Lincoln, the town would not need to locate the bounds for the road,
Right, makes sense.
but Mr. Lincoln may.
On small lots with so many twists and turns, you would have an
That too,
endless.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
You'd
So
have
those just-
so, you'd have
just-
so many little concrete.
Yeah, no, those are
Markers.
special bounds along the roadway, right? Not.
Right, yeah, like get back to your corner, a lot of times, it's on the, like Stephanie said, some of the outline of
Mhm.
subdivision.
I think there's one other waiver, right, Megan? The sideline setback?
Yeah, I believe it was not shown on the plans currently. We were gonna add it for the final revision, but we do require a waiver for the setbacks from the lot sides. Because at one point we decided that
But
it was.
Let me catch up there, man, just a second, but that's, without me looking up, that's allowed, that's within our right, without a waiver in the compact neighborhood overlay district, is it not?
Right.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I thought there was a 10-foot offset still with the compact overlay. But I could be incorrect on that.
Greg, do you want me to check that quickly?
Well,
or-
we could, you know what, just for expediency, I mean, we can, I thought, just like we've done a flexible development, I thought we had the right to tweak, to changes if we need. So we're all keenly aware of these properties. So you can see the few that do go over the side setback a little bit. But that's kind of been the case from day one. So anybody have any issues with that? No, so that's fine. We can bundle that in there just to keep it consistent with all the other waivers. So do we need to take a vote separately on the waivers, Stephanie, at some point, or?
No, you
You just-
can.
right,
you can
just
vote
making
the
us all
slate,
aware of
Yes,
it.
if
Right,
there,
okay.
again, if no one has any objection to any of them or feels that they should deny any of them, you can vote the whole slate.
Okay, so before I open this to the audience, the applicant's given his presentation. The director of planning has chimed in. The board has had opportunities. Anybody else on the board care to say anything before I open this to see if there's anybody in the audience? And if there's anyone in the audience that has a question or a comment, please raise your hand. And there's one. Gail Carister.
Hi, Dale Kerster, 21 South Street. Briefly, just to what Greg mentioned earlier, my understanding is that the expected approval of this will confirm the public's right of access to get to the open space from the private ways within the development, and just wanted to confirm that that in fact will be the case.
Mr. Lincoln, would you like to answer that?
Yes, it will.
Great, thank you very much appreciated.
Thanks, Dale. Anyone else in the audience? Okay, so I don't, if we were to close this, I know there's a couple things that need to be revised on the plan, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't close it. Do you agree, Stephanie? with that?
I agree.
All right, so Mr. Lincoln, would you care for us to close the public hearing?
Yes, please.
Okay, can someone who's ever not muted, please mute themselves? And anybody care to make a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing, Stetson.
Kevin, second.
And it's just for clarity, it's two public hearings, one for definitive subdivision, number 20-178, and one for special permit other 20-179. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
Maybe only that, given that we're waiting, it's a big project and we're waiting for some, finalized items on the plans. I prefer not to have to, vote on the, project tonight until we have a finalized plan. Is that acceptable?
Okay, well then I don't think we should close the public hearing.
Oh, okay, all right, never mind. We can do it.
So what is it in fact? So, because what do we, let's clarify what we're waiting on here for. We're gonna label, there needs to be some labeling of the clubhouse. That certainly can be done administratively. Let's not
Yeah.
change anything else. What else? What am I missing?
Okay, so let's see. They agreed to look at a native and adaptive species for the landscaping, which could be incorporated into the decision. They said they would update the plans with the reduced, to indicate the reduced lumens and color change on the lighting. Greg, you have the condition that once they've cleared over by those very easterly properties, that either I, you, or another member of the board go out to a site inspection and make a determination if there's additional buffer that would need to be made and planted. And that would be a condition.
Okay, and maybe just to confirm that that the severe sewer pipe grading issue has in fact been resolved on this new set of plans.
Yes, we could add that.
Okay, convince me. That's okay. I suppose we don't need a finalized set to continue our votes.
Yeah, I mean, all due respect, I mean, the only two things I heard that there weren't decisions would be the labeling of the clubhouse and confirming that the 4.25% pitch is not severe. So
Yeah.
you're
Right,
okay if we take a vote on this tonight, or do you want to hold on?
Yes, I am okay.
You're okay. Okay.
And Greg, if I could, I would suggest, I mean, the board could also vote to add a condition that be confirmed in any adjustments made
Right.
as needed for the sewer pipe.
And yeah, I mean, and honestly, we don't really get into the slopes of sewer pipes. That was feedback given by the sewer department, and obviously they will take care of it. But
Right.
since it's in the paper trail, we can put it there. And it must have been taken care of because 4% isn't really that big of it. But anyways, since has come up, we can note it. Okay, so I've totally lost my train of thought. Did we have a motion to close public hearing? And it was seconded. That's right. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of closing the public hearing? Greg Strange, aye. Robert Stetson,
Aye.
Thomas Kedem,
Aye.
Peter Duchesne,
Aye.
Deborah Balsaric. I heard her say aye. Can't hear her, but I saw her, I should say. Okay.
Aye.
Oh, there she is. And now, so we can entertain a motion. We can sit on this. What is the board's pleasure? And it would need, if we're moving to vote on this, we'd do one for the definitive subdivision and one for the special permit.
As far as the waivers, how are we gonna handle the waivers? We're gonna try to list them all in the motion, or just
No, I would just say, including all the motions, including all of the waivers that we just reviewed. With
the
the
waivers
director of
and then
planning.
also okay, yeah. Then any conditions will be in the decision, right? So
Right.
So do you want to handle them in one motion, or is it two, Greg?
Well, as long as we can do one motion, as long as you mention them both.
Okay.
Both special permits.
I'll make a motion to approve the special permits at 560 Foundry Street, the definitive subdivision number 20-178, and also the special permit other number 20-179. Stetson.
Kevin, second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor? Greg Strange, aye. Robert Stetson,
Aye.
Peter Duchesne,
aye.
Deborah Balsaric. Aye. Her hand went up and she said aye. And Amos Kedem.
Aye.
Aye, that is unanimous. All right. Thank you all. Mr. Lincoln?
Mr. Chair, excuse me, this is Suzanne. I didn't hear the word waivers in the motions.
So you can make a motion now to grant the waivers.
Someone can say so moved.
So moved, Stetson.
Second, Duchesne.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of granting the waivers, Greg Strange, aye. Robert Stetson,
Aye.
Deborah Balsaric, Peter Duchesne,
Aye.
and Amos Kedem.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne, for that. And all right, that's a wrap. Mr. Lincoln, it's good luck. It's an exciting project. It's been a long time.
I'll send the
And,
balloons up.
That's, yeah. All right. And Megan, thank you for your help. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you both soon. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for everyone's time.
Okay. So I need a motion to continue the public hearings for 464 and 466 Foundry Street, special permit multifamily. And so, oh, actually, we have to open this one, don't we?
Yeah.
Peter, we have to open it and then continue it.
I was going to say that. I have this right here. May I?
All right, please go ahead.
Okay. The Town of Easton notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 41, Section 81-T MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 19th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. to be held remotely on the application received from Fusion Investments LLC for a special permit multifamily under Easton Town Code Chapter 235 zoning, 235-56 special permits, and Appendix A2 special zoning districts. Table of use regulations, principal uses, A3 multifamily dwellings to allow residential apartments at 464 and 466 Foundry Street, Easton, Massachusetts. Assessors map 45U, lots 33 and 36. This meeting will be conducted remotely via Zoom. The virtual meeting link will be contained within the posted agenda at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. A copy of the application to end plan may be viewed on the town website. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Gregory Strange, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. And as I was saying before, I will ask someone to make a motion to continue both of these public hearings until October 11th, 2022.
Motion to continue both of the aforementioned public hearings to October 11th.
Second, Stetson.
We have a second. We have a motion. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor? Greg Strange, aye. Robert Stetson,
Aye.
Deborah Balsaric, Amos Kedem,
Aye.
and Peter Duchesne.
Aye.
I'll remember by the end of the night you don't have audio, Deb. It's been a long, I got up at 2 a.m., so I'm a little slow today. And all right, now we have a public hearing, which Peter will read in for two-family home proposed 247 Foundry Street, special permit number 22-288.
I'm not sure if I have that one. Suzanne, was that in the same email?
No, but it's in the binder. Stephanie has it.
Okay, oh, sorry about that. I'll have to, can someone just share and I'll read it off the screen? That will speed things up.
I'm looking for it.
Okay,
Hold on.
I can get there.
Yep.
All right.
And hold on. Did I open the correct screen? Can you see?
Yes.
Okay.
I get larger though.
I'll zoom in.
You could zoom in a little bit.
Yep. Of course, I don't know what it did. Hold on. Let me get there. Can you read that, Peter?
How about two more clicks? One more, two more Zoom clicks.
Okay.
Really? Wow, eyes are that bad.
One more?
It's no, that's good. It's
It
small.
really depends on each individual's computer, I think.
Okay, here we go. Town of Easton knows of thank you, Stephanie. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 40A, Section 9 and Section 11 MGL, The Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 19th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. to be held by remote access using Zoom for an application received from Jerry Wester and William Colatone for a special permit two-family home under Easton Town Code, Chapter 235 zoning, 235-36 special to allow the creation of a two-family home at 247 Foundry Street, Easton, Massachusetts, Assessors Map 16R, Lot 35. The agenda will be posted at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. A copy of the application and plan may be viewed on the town website. Notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Gregory Strange, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Deshane. Appreciate it. Stephanie, I believe there was someone in the audience that was going to present.
I have Mr. Colantuone and
Yep.
Ms.
Mr.
Wester there.
Okay,
Correct.
so welcome. If you would just, when I'm done, give your name and address for the record, and then you can present what you would like to present to us. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. About 2.5 years ago, we pulled permits for a in-law apartment to bring Sherry's folks up from Florida because her mom has MS. And unfortunately, since then, she's deteriorated, and we've had to move her into the main house to keep an eye on her, which left the apartment, the in-law apartment out back, almost vacant at this point here. When we went through the process, the Easton Fire Department had us hardwire the whole house, just in case there was going to be some provisions for future moving into a two-family. There's more than enough adequate parking out back. If you look at the drawings, I think we've got a 35 by 40 separate parking spot out back, which is off-street off of Route 106 for the tenants. The tenants would potentially have their own separate entrance that's not tied to the main house at all. So we've covered all the bases on the initial construction 2.5 years ago under the in-law provisions. So now we're in front of the board looking for special provisions to convert the property to a two-family. The zoning up there does have two families up there. We've got one 2 doors over at 239 Foundry Street. So everything we've done prepared for maybe a possible conversion as far as the fire department, the separate utilities. The Board of Health approved the septic tank with the 2-chamber, the meter, it's separate meters out back and all of that there. So we've done everything we possibly can. So I guess we're just coming to the board right now at this point here to say, can we convert the property from a in-law apartment to a legal two-family is where we're at, quite honestly, right now.
Okay, thank you. I'll open this up to the board. I know we've had, there were some sketches and some photos, questions or comments from board members, if any.
Was there there was obviously a kitchen in the in-law when it was an in-law, right?
Yes, there is. Correct. Yeah, it's got a washer dryer. It's got a full kitchen inside. And like I said, it's got its own separate entrance, separate water heater. Everything was self-contained when we put it up, just in case we were going to go with a future expansion of the property. So yes.
And I did read your your narrative, but what's the square foot?
It's roughly almost 1,000 square feet on the property, on the in-law.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Peter?
Yeah, I thought it said 600 somewhere. But...
Yeah, I was going to say that's, thank you, Peter.
Yep, nope, it's the property comes in, I think it's 998, I think it is on the square footage on the original plan.
Okay.
Violation of our in-law bylaw.
Really?
Yeah, it's not supposed to be bigger than 900 square feet.
Oh, no.
And that's, and actually not more than a quarter of the house. And if it is, you have to come to planning board for a special permit, and it can't be more than 900 feet.
Yeah, total property square foot is 5,500 square feet. It's the old Haywood property.
No, I'm very familiar. Yeah, but still can't be over 900. Interesting.
I'm
Unless my math's off.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask a question.
Sure.
Because Mr. Colantone keeps saying the property, does he mean the footprint of the garage or the living space that is actually the in-law apartment? Because I know I looked at it and would have brought that up if it were more than, if it were that 1,000 square.
Maybe I'm confused. Maybe I'm talking about the footprint of the garage and not the in-law apartment itself.
Because, right, because.
Well, I
in-law-
mean, it's a moot point anyways, because it has nothing to do with what we're doing with. So why don't we move along? Board members, any other questions or comments out there before I chime in?
Couple
Deb, I see your
comments or
hand.
questions.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you
Yeah.
now, yeah.
So I know that building construction issues are not in our purview, and that will be handled by the building inspector. But there is definitely a difference between an in-law and a two-family home, which is a duplex. And I don't really especially love the idea of setting a precedent of an in-law can then be converted to a two-family home. But I'm just wondering, are duplexes on this street or in the nearby vicinity? Like, how will that possibly impact the character of the neighborhood? That offhand, I'm having a hard time remembering exactly where 247 is.
This is a wonderful stick style right across the street from Southeastern Regional. And there were photos
Yeah, I was going to ask,
in the plan.
Greg, would you
so-
like to share those or?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. And so I'll just piggyback on Deb's a little bit because she's right. It's not our purview, but there is, if you have any common walls. So there are a number of things to do with fire code that you'll be required to do, but that's the building department, not us.
Okay.
And at my first, very familiar. I've always loved this house, and I'm like, and I know it's in the newly formed Hayward Pool Local Historic District, but you're not proposing any changes. The question I had is you can see from this photo right here, it looks like to be a second floor. Is that accessed, and what is that?
What that used to be, Greg, was the old storage facility for the hay for the carriage house, which was the barn in theory. So that's just raw space up there right now. There's nothing up there at all, but it is accessible from the garage through the garage door up through the thing. But it's not developed property up there, just raw storage for hay.
Okay, so just in the future, if for any reason the building inspector required a separate egress for that, you would then you'd have to go to, as you know, you'd have to go before historical for any exterior changes since it's in a local historic district.
Correct.
And,
Yeah,
and you'd have to circle back here because we do, being a special permit, we do have a purview over exterior design. So we'd want to see that also.
Chatted with the historic commission, and they didn't have any problem with the structure was already done, the construction was already done, the occupancy permit was already issued. We weren't going to change the facade of the structure at all at this point here. All we were looking for was a special permit to convert. So there is no building permit being pulled. I guess is where I'm yeah.
Well, this will be referred to the building inspector because, as Deb pointed out, this is now you're proposing this to be a two-family home. Once that's approved by us, you have to have, there are certain fire rating you have to have on walls and ceilings between any shared or any common walls with your house. So it's treated very differently code-wise than an in-law. In-law is really just an extension of a house. This is now two dwelling units. So my point was, just so you can hear this again, if where that room above is ambiguous, if at any point the building inspector, whether it's now or up the road, if you go to convert that room to something else, if he requires a staircase on the exterior, then yeah, you'd have to go to historical, but you'd also have to come back to here where this is a special permit.
Sure.
And we're voting on this exterior the way it is inside the local historic district.
Sure. I understand what you're saying now. For any,
Just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
yep. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah, that's all I had.
Is there any, is the intention of the owner to rent the other portion or to sell the second, the other dwelling?
No, not at all. Both of the occupants live in the house. There is no selling of the property, the back sectioning it out or anything at all. All we're trying to do is just convert it into a rental property at this point here. We both plan on living in the property 100% of the time. And again, it's just trying to make use of the property the best we can. But we have no we're not going to sell it off as a condo, or if that's what you're asking, or anything like that. There, all we want to do is just rent it off as a monthly rent.
And Deb, I just wanted to.
Family.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Deb.
As a two-family dwelling, that obviously is in their purview to do so. Obviously, we don't have any control over that or the future use of it as two separate dwellings. And piggybacking on my earlier question, which I think, again, is not handled by our board, but is this a house on a single septic system?
Yeah, the house is on a single septic system, but the house itself is a 4-bedroom septic system, and the apartment would put it as the in-law apartment is part of that 4-bedroom system. So where it's a 2-chamber system, the Board of Health has looked at the plans. The septic system was only about 6 years old. So it met the requirements of the Board of Health as a 4-bedroom for a upgrade to the special permits for a 2-family.
Yeah, Deb, on Permitize, there was a comment from Board of Health, maybe back in June, saying, what their concerns were. And then there was a subsequent comment a couple months after that, saying that they approved the existing conditions for the proposed use. And I just wanted to kind of piggyback your point about talking about precedent, because it's always a concern. And it's, you think of all the stuff we've talked about, diversified housing types, et cetera, coming off the master plan. We have a couple other kind of one other non-conventional duplex, conventional, just kind of what we normally see, that we recently looked at. And this one, I may feel differently about this one if it was not so separated, but there's ample parking. And it's, it's sort of the big house, outhouse, back house barn, right? Where the garage / in-law is being converted to a separate unit. So at least to me, the integrity of the house hasn't changed, the architectural integrity. Just full disclosure, being a member of the historical commission, those things are important to me, and keeping the integrity of that historic district. And I think this can function well as a 2-family. There's enough space there for parking, enough space for 2-family units. But that doesn't mean there's no precedent in terms of, doesn't mean just because we approve this is a special permit. We look at this as a case-by-case basis, based on a number of variables. So this doesn't mean we have to approve every in-law that comes to us now that wants to convert to a 2-family, because the merits.
That's kind of interesting too, right? Because we've approved plenty of duplexes, and yet this is a less intensive, multifamily than a duplex, really, because it's a smaller, a decent sized apartment, but it's still smaller. And
Right,
it's secondary,
1 bedroom.
and it's secondary to the main structure, whereas a duplex is can be 2 4-bedroom houses connected to each other by a little connection. So
Right. Yep. Any or Stephanie? I'm sorry.
I have one other comment that I generally try to tie the project to goals outlined in the master plan, and one that I forgot to include is that I mean, by allowing the special permit, it could aid in the goal of preserving historic houses and residents by making it more affordable for the property owners to upkeep the place, the property.
Well, folks, one thing we did do when we bought the property 4.5 years ago, and this is the Haywood Pool, obviously, is we wanted to maintain the character of the house. We didn't want to come in and vinyl side it. We didn't want to change it. We didn't want to do anything, even with some of the stuff that we're doing internally, converting the library back to the library and all of that there. We're trying to keep with the character of the house and making the Haywood Pool proud of the house. And I think we've done that same thing with the apartment out back, where it's out there, but it's unnoticeable from the street. We didn't change the facade. The Historic Society is happy with the property. And I think we've done a great job with keeping the preserve of that property, the Haywood Pool up there.
And it's appreciated. To me, that's a very important structure. And you're right, we lose too many of those. You know, we just recently lost 2 more that got wonderful Queen Anne's that got covered in vinyl.
Yeah, no, the house doesn't. The house doesn't need that.
No. So we appreciate that. Board members, any more questions before I see if there's anything in the audience? If there's anyone in the audience that has a question or comment, please raise your hand. And if not, would you, to the applicants, would you like us to close the public hearing? By that, because before a board can accept a motion, we have to close the public hearing. Once the public hearing is closed, no more information can be taken in.
We would love for you to close the hearing.
Okay. And someone can make a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing, Deshane.
Second, Stetson.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, Gregory Strange, aye. Robert Stetson,
Aye.
Peter Deshane,
Aye.
Deb Balsaric, Thomas Kedem.
Aye.
I'm gonna
Oh.
abstain.
Okay. Abstain from closing? Okay, that's fine. You can do that.
Yeah.
That's a first. All right, so just make sure we have enough to vote on this if there is a motion. We do, okay. Public meeting is closed. So Stephanie, before, does a special permit, so I guess all special permits need a supermajority, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
So-
you have enough,
assuming, so we have 5 members here tonight, so assuming Deb is going to abstain on the vote, since she just abstained on the closing of the public meeting, we would need this to be a unanimous vote in favor, 4-0. And I'm not saying you have to vote that way. I just would ask the board members to keep that in mind as they make a motion. If we need to continue this till we have other members, we'd have to do that.
Well, Deb, did you want to talk about it more, or you just kind of just in your mind, it might not be the best thing to do in this situation? You don't have to explain yourself. I'm just asking, trying to figure out what I should do now.
You broke out a little bit. Did you just say, did I want to talk about it a little bit more?
Oh, yeah, I guess not really in favor. Is that I'm just saying you don't have to explain yourself, but I'd like to make the appropriate motion here.
I think, in fairness to Deb, because I don't put her on the spot, Bob, how do you, can I do a straw vote here? This was kind of came out of nowhere and we were missing a member.
Do we do that thing
So-
where where our hands have to go
Amas,
up?
are you okay with this project? Do you feel okay? And Bob, how about you?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay, so
Okay.
then Deb, that's all good. Don't worry.
Okay,
So
sorry.
you don't
Okay.
need to.
Motion to approve the plan as presented and grant a special permit.
Second, Stetson.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of the special permit? Gregory Strange, aye. Robert Stetson,
Aye.
Thomas Kedem,
Aye.
Peter Deshane,
All right.
and Deb Balsaric. Is that abstain? Did you say abstain? Yeah, okay, and Deb abstained. I had to read those lips and they don't open that much on that word. Abstain. All right, all right, motion passes. And so a decision will be written in the near future. And you can contact Stephanie Danielson's office for that. And good luck. Thank you for coming in.
Greg, did that pass the special permit? I'm confused now.
It did, yeah, it
Okay,
did.
good, okay.
But I would just as a designer and builder of several hundred homes through the years, I would absolutely get in touch with the building department because you'll have to do some minor changes, but you should do them because your insurance companies are going to require them also. You
Sure,
don't want to be
absolutely.
in a bad situation. So good luck. All right, appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, folks. Take
Sure.
care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, meeting minutes. Peter, did you have time?
I did, and they
It
looked
looks
okay.
good to me. You know what I want to hear.
Yeah, motion to approve the meeting minutes from, what was that, 14th? I don't have the, what was the date?
Number 7.
September 7th.
Adam second.
All those in favor? Greg Strange, aye. Deb Balsaric. Aye. Peter DeShane.
All right.
Amos Kedem.
Aye.
Bob, did I do you yet?
Nope.
Bob Stetson.
Aye.
I try to do a different order every time, so that I'm not getting any younger. Sometimes I get lost along the way.
Keep us awake.
All right. I'm exhausted, so I'm not going to update anything tonight. Stephanie, do you have anything?
Not tonight.
All right.
Maybe
Well, thanks
next.
everybody for coming in. A nice quick meeting. And I think what we'll do at some point, it's going to take a while, but Stephanie will give me a draft version of the decision for
Yes.
Sawmill. And
Yeah.
I'll write up some stuff. We'll send it to you guys too, just since this has been a long one, just to make sure.
Yeah.
Everything's copacetic. All right, great. Thank you all. Have a great night. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Good
Good night,
Stephanie.
everybody.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, ECAT. Thank you, Easton.